we're beginning to create a tapestry, and I want to see if anybody is ready to speak a little more about why is hope so important for us humans. We are already beginning to weave through what you have offered the sense first that without hope, life could become very difficult, almost unbearable. And then you also spoke to the sense that hope is so core, so fundamental. To be alive is to have hope. To be awakened to a new day and be present to the new day means to have hope. What else comes up in you? What else comes alive when I ask why is hope so important for us humans? Both in the personal and in the collective sense. And anybody, please.
I think what comes up right away in me is how a child knows so little. And we start out that way. And only through, we hope as a child, and only through the encouragement of our people looking after us, do we join into the new technology, the new ways of going on, the new growth that human beings have had before we were born. And if it's not taken care of in an early age, that person is very far in arrears. We can't teach ourselves very well. We can't even learn to walk very well. We can't clean ourselves when we use the bathroom. We can't go forage for our food. Everything about us in our early growth is dependent upon the encouragement. And from us, the hope. Certainly those encourage us, hope we will do well. They want their encouragement to bear fruit. They want that person that we are, that's being raised by our parents. But not just our parents, the teachers that we meet. They hope we're going to take over, do a better job than they did. They hope that our future will be brighter and we will carry them forward. They even hope that we'll look after them in their older age as they looked after us when we were young.
So you're offering that hope is in the capacity to learn something new, to do something we have never done before, right from the beginning of life. And you're also offering that hope is a connection, is a joining, and the bridging between what was not possible before that is becoming possible today. Please, Trevor, what else would you say about why hope is so important for us humans?
Yeah, I believe if there was only me, if there was only my situation, it would be not needed to have hope. I think hope is something we need, particularly today, in the face of the world situation. Definitely, it's something to be not manufactured, but kept alive in the light of the history of people who have had hope despite the worst of circumstances. I was born in 1947 after a most horrific war, and my parents had hope that life would go on despite the fact of terrific, incredible destruction. That there lived in them, it lived in them hope. Now, my generation, I believe, has a responsibility to continue the hope in the light of a bigger picture. I say a bigger picture. It is not just me or Britain or Europe in my mind, there is the need to take the bigger picture into consideration. And that whatever name you give to it, whatever name is given to it, it does bring up the fundamental question of why is it that the human race has continued to evolve in the face of incredible obstruction. My brother protested against a nuclear bomb when I was about 15 years old. He thought the world was coming to an end with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Really, for real. It didn't, but he had the hope in him that something could be done to prevent it happening. Now, what is my responsibility in this? So even though it may look as though things are pretty bad, there is another side of me which feels that this is a time of maybe warfare to have hope in the world. There is a future. There is a part that we are a part of in the evolution of the human race. This is what I believe. That's why I was given a life in the first place, to continue in that process. So what gifting can I give into the world to continue that process? So I shall try to be the best of myself, to face the challenges and struggles, to face the reality of being alive and one's ups and downs and all the possibilities that are actually open to the human being, most of which I was not taught in school, unfortunately. I've had to learn through experience of travel and jobs and people that there is something that we as a human race can do, and this is part of it. It's an open dialogue about who we are and what we can give. So I'll leave it there, but that is what arises in me for this question, this dialogue.
You're describing, Trevor, hope as a can-do conductive power that unlocks action and change action when necessary.
Indeed. When the chips are down, if there is a combined collective emanation of hope, things can be achieved. That's what history teaches us. So this is what I'm pleased to be a part of. Not pleased. Pleased is the wrong word. This is how I feel.
Yeah. It's more a sense of being called to be part of the chain of life and part of the bridge from what is to what can be.
Yes.
Please, Miriam.
You asked why hope is so important. And what I think we're creatures that project ourselves in our minds first. We think about what's going to be tomorrow and we send ourselves there. We send energy there. We plan ahead, whether it's conscious or less conscious. The fact of progressing into tomorrow is part of our design. It's part of the way we work. And without hope, there's nowhere to go. So I think one of the very important aspects of encouragement is providing information that things are possible, and to really take into account that we're not the only players in this theater of life. So then we don't know exactly how the situation can get better. we may not know. It's like you don't know how things are really going to develop, but you can know how you would like to be, so that you put in your bit that maybe they can develop in the right direction. And that's something that I've learned very much with children, that if they feel incapable of doing something, they lose hope very quickly. And that if you give them, firstly, really good, solid information about what life is about and what learning is about, and how we all make mistakes, and how something that looks really difficult to do, if you break it down to bite-sized pieces, then it's possible. It's like if you try to go up a flight of stairs without the flight of stairs, it's going to look like something like this. And you can't do that. You can't go up to the second floor. But if it's divided into small steps, then it's possible. And that's what I think teachers or adults are called to do, to make those steps apparent, and for ourselves as well. If we're talking about self-encouragement, that's also making a plan of what the first step might be. I have many examples. I don't know if it's necessarily now the right time to open it, but I've seen it happen so many times.
Yeah. Well, let me just pick it up there and expand to further inquire about encouragement, because both the clarity of thought that you're offering with this idea that sometime encouragement is providing solid information about what is possible and offering that foundation, the scaffolding of what is, and that in that there is tremendous encouragement. Mm-hmm. Then the visual sense you're giving us, that it's the steps and the stairs that you provide, certainly in the case of a child, but also with us adults, how powerful an encouragement that can be. So let me invite other voices, please. What else would you say about the power of encouragement and how you have experienced the significance and the power of encouragement on this journey we call life? Lisa, please.
Yes. Wow. So in what Miriam said, there's so much in there about offering people possibilities. So I would like to tell a little story, if you don't mind. Many years ago, I went to Africa on a humanitarian project. And I met a young girl there. She was a teenager and she was a refugee in Nairobi. Her family had been murdered in the Rwandan genocide. And she had made her way. She'd been in Rwanda for many years, but then there were some threats on her life. So she, as a teenager, made her way to Kenya. And I met her, and she was a shell of a life. She couldn't even look up into my eyes or into anybody's eyes. She had been through so much. And I instantly fell in love with her, and she with me. And our relationship developed, and I went back to the States. We stayed in touch. I went back and forth to Africa for a couple of years for this project. And she became my daughter, and I became her mother. And she will always say to me, she calls me Mama, Mama, you gave me hope. You believed in me. You offered other possibilities. And it's such a powerful story, because if you saw her today, many years later, she's married, she's a nurse, she has 2 children, she lives in Canada. And she had always said that she would never love again. She would never be able to love because she was in such fear that anyone she would love would be taken away from her. But through the years, she gained back that ability to love and to believe that there can be a different possibility and there can be a different future. And I have to mention the words forgiveness, because forgiveness is a big part of hope. Because without forgiveness, and as we know, or as it's said, forgiveness begins in oneself. So this is all tied up into hope, encouragement, and the most important thing I think anyone can do for anyone is to believe in them, to believe in their life, to believe in the value of that life, and encourage that life to fulfill its possibility and its promise. So that's just a little personal story for me.
Yeah, beautiful and powerful, Lisa. Thank you. And you brought to the picture the power of love, the power of forgiveness, and you're offering there that perhaps the greatest encouragement in the world is believing in someone. Because when you have somebody, even if only one person that believes in you, you have all that you need to grow and thrive.